The snow fell gently outside as a young boy sat by the window, his tiny hands gripping a pencil. With careful strokes, he wrote a letter, one filled with hope, wonder, and a simple Christmas wish. He had heard the stories about Santa, how he made magic happen for children everywhere. And even though things had been tough this year, he still believed. Slipping the letter into an envelope, he whispered a quiet wish before placing it in the mailbox. He didn't know if Santa would ever see it, but deep down, he hoped someone would. What he never expected was that his letter would end up in the hands of a stranger, someone who would read his words and feel something stir inside them. Who was this person? And why did they feel compelled to answer? As the holiday season unfolded, the boy's wish would set off a chain of events neither of them could have imagined. The days passed, and the boy almost forgot about the letter. Almost. Every time he walked past the mailbox, a tiny flicker of hope lit up inside him. Maybe Santa had read his words. Maybe something magical would happen. But as the world around him twinkled with Christmas lights and laughter, his house remained quiet. His mother did her best to keep the holiday spirit alive, but he could see the tiredness in her eyes, the way she counted every dollar before buying even the smallest thing. Meanwhile, across town, a man stood at his kitchen table, holding the boy's letter in his hands. He had found it purely by accident, a mix-up at the post office that placed the envelope among his own mail. He hadn't planned to open it, but something about the childlike scrawl and the words "Dear Santa" tugged at him. Now, as he read the wish inside, a lump formed in his throat. The boy hadn't asked for toys or candy, not even for himself. His wish was simple but heartbreaking. "Dear Santa, can you help my mom smile again? I don't need anything, just for her to be happy like before." The man sat down, rubbing his fingers over the worn paper. He didn't know this child, but somehow his words reached a place inside him he had long ignored. He knew what it was like to watch someone you love struggle, to feel helpless as the joy in their eyes faded. He had lost that battle once before. Maybe this was his chance to do something different. But how? He wasn't Santa. He wasn't even sure where to start. The boy, unaware of the stranger now holding his wish, spent the next few days watching his mother closely. She still hummed Christmas songs while washing the dishes, still wrapped him in warm hugs at night, but there was something missing. The way she stared out the window when she thought he wasn't looking. The sighs that slipped out when she checked her phone. He wished he could do something, but he was just a kid. Then, the first sign of something unusual happened. One evening, after returning from work, his mother found an envelope slipped under their apartment door. Inside was a gift card to the local grocery store and a short note for a little holiday magic. No name, no explanation. Just those few words. She hesitated, looking around the hallway as if expecting to see someone watching. When she stepped inside, she held the card like it was something fragile. "Did you see who left this?" she asked him. He shook his head, though his heart pounded. Could it be? Could Santa really have heard his letter? Across town, the man watched the news play on his TV, his mind elsewhere. He had taken a small step, but was it enough? Would it even make a difference? He didn't want to be intrusive or make the mother feel like a charity case. He just wanted to help. As Christmas drew closer, the mysterious gifts continued. A warm scarf left on their doorstep. A small decorated tree appearing in their living room one evening when they returned home. Each act of kindness was small but carefully chosen, as if someone knew exactly what they needed. The boy's excitement grew, but so did the questions. Who was behind it all? And why? One night, as he lay awake, staring at the twinkling lights of the tiny tree, he made up his mind. He was going to find out. The boy lay still beneath the soft glow of the Christmas tree, his heart thudding in quiet excitement. Someone out there was answering his letter, making magic happen in the real world. But who? And why? He wasn't sure how he would figure it out, but he knew one thing he had to try. The next evening, he stayed by the window, watching carefully. The city was alive with Christmas lights and the scent of fresh snow in the air. He pulled his blanket tighter around himself and waited. His mother had stepped out to visit a neighbor, giving him the perfect chance to keep an eye on their door. Then, just as the wind whispered against the windows, he saw it. A shadow moving near the apartment entrance. His breath caught as he pressed his nose against the glass. The figure wasn't dressed in red or wearing a big white beard. No sleigh waited outside. Instead, it was just a man in a dark coat, walking up the steps with careful, deliberate movements. The boy's hands curled into fists of determination. This was it. He bolted to the door and flung it open just as the man was about to slip away. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. "You're the one," the boy whispered, his voice barely carrying over the winter air. The man froze, caught in the act. He held a small envelope in his hand, another anonymous gift, but now there was no hiding. His expression softened, and he sighed. "I guess you found me." The boy studied him, trying to understand. This wasn't Santa. He wasn't even someone they knew. But there was something kind in his eyes, something warm. "Why are you helping us?" The man hesitated, looking down at the envelope. "Because someone once helped me." His voice was quiet, almost distant. "A long time ago, when I was about your age, my family had a hard Christmas. My mom, she was struggling just like yours. And someone, a stranger, stepped in to help. I never knew who they were. But I never forgot." The boy listened, his heart thudding with emotion. He had never expected an answer like this. He had thought of Santa, of Christmas magic, but this was something else. Something real. The man cleared his throat. "I saw your letter by accident. It wasn't supposed to end up with me, but when I read it..." He trailed off. "I knew I had to do something." A lump formed in the boy's throat. He looked down at the envelope in the man's hand. "What's in there?" "A little something for your mom," the man admitted. "Nothing big. Just enough to help, maybe make things a little easier." The boy swallowed hard, overwhelmed. It wasn't about the gifts. It wasn't about money. It was about kindness, about the fact that someone, a complete stranger, had listened, had cared. His mother's footsteps echoed in the hallway, and for a brief moment, panic flickered in the man's eyes. "I should go," he murmured. But the boy reached out, gripping his sleeve. Wait. The door opened, and his mother stepped inside, pausing when she saw them. Her eyes flicked between her son and the stranger standing just outside, confusion knitting her brows. "What's going on?" The boy turned to her, his heart pounding. He didn't know how to explain it, how to put into words everything that had happened. But he didn't have to. The man took a slow breath and stepped forward. "I hope this isn't too much," he said, holding out the envelope. I read your son's letter. And I wanted to help." The boy's mother blinked, stunned. Her hands trembled slightly as she took the envelope, as if it might disappear. Slowly, she opened it, her lips parting in shock. "You don't have to do this," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I know," the man replied simply, "but I want to." For a long moment, there was silence. The boy watched as his mother's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of something else. Something lighter. She looked up at the man, searching for words. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," he said, offering a small smile. "Just promise me something." She nodded, still overwhelmed. "One day," he said, glancing down at the boy, "when you can, pass it on." The boy felt something shift inside him, something deep and unshakable. He understood now. This wasn't about grand gestures. It wasn't about Santa. It was about people, about the way kindness could ripple outward from one heart to another. His mother nodded, wiping at her eyes. "I will." The man smiled, and for the first time, the boy saw something lighter in his face. As if, in helping them, he had healed something in himself too. Then, with one last nod, he turned and disappeared into the snow. The boy and his mother stood in the doorway, watching until he was gone. She let out a shaky breath, then knelt down and pulled her son into her arms. "You were right," she whispered. There is magic in the world. The boy closed his eyes and smiled. Because now, he knew it wasn't just magic. It was kindness. And it was real.